That guy you definitely win right there for biggest cheer for the audience. I don't think
How's
he's
it
surprised.
going?
Yeah.
How are you guys? What's up with the weather? So yesterday it was like 90 degrees, but I was stuck in an airport in Toronto for 6 hours, and then I finally got here, and all of a sudden it's like Toronto weather.
It's cold, yes. Wet.
I didn't even bring a jacket. This is my jacket. It is, right? I heard there was a tornado warning and everything. That's just so nice. So I noticed on this reel here, they only had Power Ranger stuff. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that.
There was a glimpse at the end of Flashpoint, I saw it. Did you guys see that? It came and went really, really fast. Anyway, that's okay.
That's okay, because we'll talk about Felicity and Flashpoint, and of course Power Rangers, and your movie, The Space Between, which you guys can check out, starring Michael Ironside.
Michael Cran. So I started writing and directing. I don't know if you guys know that. That's my passion now. So I've switched over from acting to writing and directing. I just went to school for the last 6 months, and that's all I want to do. I did my first feature film last year. It's called The Space Between. You can now rent it on iTunes and Google and a bunch of other platforms. And they're leaving because I'm not talking about Power Rangers. But there's a Power Ranger homage in the beginning of it, because this is where I come from, right? Has anybody here seen The Space Between? Thanks, guys. Where's Will? He saw it. I know Will saw it. Anyway, yeah, in the beginning I do a little homage to Power Rangers, because it is my first job. It was my first gig as an actress.
Well, let's talk, and we're going to throw it to the audience questions in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about transitioning from, obviously, from acting to directing. That is a big leap. I mean, what were the biggest challenges for you in that transition?
So I found myself to be quite an insecure actress for some reason for the 20 years that I did it. I find it's a lot to really worry, or for me, worry about what I was looking like, comparing myself. So I had to leave Los Angeles, and I extricated myself, and I moved to Canada. I moved to Toronto, or Montreal at first. And then I got an audition for Flashpoint, which was in Toronto. And so I realized when I went and did Flashpoint that it wasn't really acting that I was running away from. It was more of the environment for me that didn't sit well with me in Los Angeles. So I went to Toronto and I did Flashpoint, and on that show I really sort of found my confidence. I had a baby at that time, and that changes your life, as a lot of you guys know. And during that time I realized, okay, now I want to start storytelling, and now I want to transition into writing and directing. Because I was always sort of, I think, insecure and intimidated and nervous to actually pursue that. And then finally, at my late 30s, around 37, 38, I got the confidence to start truly following my passion and my dreams. And I find that writing and directing is way more of a passion. It's something I'm in love with way more than I ever was in love with acting.
Well, when you watch TV shows, when you watch movies, you can appreciate directing styles, but when you set out to actually do it, you have to kind of assemble your thoughts and think about what is my aesthetic and what kind of director am I and who do I look to. So when you're doing that, when you're kind of crafting your aesthetic, who did you look to, who did you pull from to say, like, this is the kind of director I am?
I'm still discovering that as I go. Like, I just went to school for the last 6 months, honing that, discovering that. I've done 3 short films. I did my first feature film. And I'm discovering my style, and I really think it's sort of a heartfelt comedy. It's taking painful life situations and finding the humor within it, because I think that's personally how I kind of approach life and look at life, and those are the types of stories that I'm interested in telling, and hopefully somebody can watch and identify and relate with the situation that's happening on screen, but also be able to find the humor within it and maybe within their own life as well.
Well, you know, from the acting perspective, like, what is a good director and what's maybe a not always as great director. So for you now, when you're behind the camera and you're dealing with your actors, what kind of notes are you giving them? Are you like a slight nudge kind of director, or are you a very like, I would like to see this?
Yeah, it depends on the actor that I'm working with. I'm discovering that every actor is so different, and everybody sort of takes direction in a different way or has a different style. I was the type of actress that if you talk to me too much, you make me heady, then I'm gonna mess up. I need to not think while I'm acting. So there's some actors like that, and then there's some really heady actors that like to really dissect it and pick it apart, and they do that really well, and they're probably a way better actor than I ever was. That was supposed to be funny. So then figuring that out, when I did The Space Between, it was Michael Ironside. Do you guys know who he is? Michael Ironside?
Yeah.
He was wonderful in my movie, I think, but he was incredibly intimidating. Thank you. And actors can be really intimidating to directors. And he came on set and he challenged me for a little bit until we figured out our footing, and then he became my best friend on set, and he was great. So yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges and things that I'm discovering is how I work with different actors. And so far I've had such luck, and it's been really amazing. And I do find, because I was an actor and we kind of come down to a same level, that I'm able to say things that maybe a director who wasn't an actor wouldn't be allowed to say, like, okay, let's go again, just act better. Like, you can't say that if you weren't an actor.
Well, I mean, it's also like, it really is a collaboration when you're writing a script, when you're working, when you're directing it. It's your vision, it's existing so much in your head, but when you get imperfect human beings suddenly involved, that vision has to necessarily evolve, and you have to be able to give and take.
Yeah, and it's not only that it's imperfect human beings, it's that you have a person who's creating their own character, and I have to let go and let them bring to the table what they're gonna bring within what I've just written. Like Michael Ironside, but his role in my movie, The Space Between, I had written sort of based more off of my dad, who, I mean, he's a funny jerk, but he's a little bit more of a jerk than Michael Ironside played. Like, he played this really wonderful dad, and I had to let go and let him do that, because that was his interpretation of this character, and it ended up being great. Like, I think he's really wonderful in the movie.
That's certainly a big personality to start with, because he, you know, famously is a strong personality, you know. So do you think that when those initial interactions took place and he was pushing on you a little bit, was it sort of, did you feel like it was a test to see, like, if you really did have that vision and the chops to do this?
Yeah, I think so. When I did Flashpoint, Hugh and Enrico, they would both challenge directors when they came on set for different reasons. I would see them do it differently, but they were quite frightening. I was like, wow, I wouldn't want to be those directors. But the ones that could handle it and actually give it back, or take the challenge and then figure out how to get in there with them and actually work with them, were the ones that stuck around longer after. So I know as a director that I'm gonna be faced with that, and so when Michael Ironside came on set, and he did do that to me, you know what, it was his first day on set. I was a first-time feature film director. He loved the script, but he'd never met any of us before. I think he showed up just going, okay, what am I getting myself into? And then as soon as I could hold my own with him, then he was like, then he was like a big teddy bear the entire time.
What's the next step then? Like, what have you learned from your first film that you now are going to take forward into your future projects?
So right now I'm working on my second feature, which this one I didn't write. It's called Tammy's Always Dying. And a girl I went to school with, Joanne Sorensen, she wrote this beautiful really heartbreaking, sad, very funny script about this alcoholic mom who has depression, and once a month, to keep her daughter tethered to the town that they live in, she threatens to jump off a bridge. It's a comedy.
Sounds hilarious.
Comedy, guys. It's gonna be super funny. So the whole movie is about, it's actually the daughter's film. The daughter's about 35 and she's stuck in this town because she's been taking care of her mom and she hasn't had room or time to hope and dream. And so the film is basically, and halfway through, the mom gets terminal cancer. And I know, God, this sounds depressing.
I know, the jokes keep coming.
But then she realizes that she doesn't want to die. And then the daughter's like, really? Like, this is almost her ticket out to finally be able to be untethered to this town. But now her mother has this new lease on life and doesn't want to die. This is the most depressing movie in the whole world! That's my pitch, guys. You guys gonna watch it? It's called Tammy's Always Dying. It's gonna be great! It's gonna be great! No, I'm gonna inject some, some good music. But and it's funny. They're funny. They're funny people.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's impressive because you're not exactly taking the easy route for feature film number 2. You're like,
I'm realizing that as I'm telling you all about it for the first time, talking about it on a stage. What the hell am I getting myself into? No, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, guys.
Well, let's go ahead and take a couple audience questions. We have the microphones there. We have microphones there, so hop in line for those. See, we got our awesome volunteers in the orange shirts. And let's keep it to one question per person, okay? Let's make it an actual question. I love you, Dallas. Don't get too weird on me.
Really quick, while you guys are lining up, if you want to see my movie, I have a website. It's called thespacebetweenfeaturefilm.com, and on there you can see where all the different platforms it's playing on. But I'd love for you to watch it. That one is a comedy, actually. It's about a guy who finds out his daughter is not his own. So funny. It's true though, but that's what happens. And then he goes on this quest to find the biological baby daddy, who happens to be a 19-year-old university student because his wife slept with sorry, there's kids in here. The busboy at work who had red hair, and the baby has bright red hair. Anyway, that's that movie. I said I like to take painful situations and find the humor, though, right? Got it.
That is life, though, right? Like, hi, start over here. Hi there.
What was it like in the Megazord?
Good question. Solid first start. What was it like?
That is a good question. You know what? It was quite surreal. I had many a moment on set, sitting in that Megazord, going, "What has my life become?" I'm wearing pink spandex on national television, and I'm looking out at the electricians and the grips. One of them I was dating, in pink spandex in a Megazord. It was surreal and fun.
Good question. Thank you so much. Let's take one over here. Hi there.
Sorry, it's also a Power Ranger question. But
No, don't be so. You guys, don't be sorry. I am very proud of the fact that I did Power Rangers. I was just a little disappointed in the montage little video. It was the only thing that they had, because I did a couple other things too.
So,
We can talk about Power Rangers for the rest of the time. I took the time to talk about all my other stuff. Now we can talk about the Power Rangers. Yeah.
So Power Rangers here in the U.S. was a mash of you guys and the Japanese show. How did you handle it, like, as an actress with that mesh of already having some stuff already laid down and then doing your own stuff and then voice?
Well, it was my first gig as an actress that I ever had, besides like a high school play. So it was all new to me anyway, and it made it so that it was a half-hour show, right? We only had to shoot for the first 20 of them, like 15 minutes of the episode, because the rest of the episode was the Japanese footage. It was just bizarre. And this is just the gig I got. It was like, okay, this is what we're doing. But then we ran out of Japanese footage, and we had to start shooting the footage ourselves. And they had us in the costumes and everything, but then me and David Yost couldn't breathe with the helmets on. We didn't like it. So they got stunt doubles. JDF continued to wear he did a lot of his own stunts. Because he's like that. But yeah. Anyway, it was a bizarre first job. I had a friend who told me, well, you might want to just quit that and just start all over again. And look at now, like it was like such a big show. Who knew? Nobody knew. Like when we were shooting that, we had absolutely no idea that in 6 months, when the show went on the air, it would be like this crazy phenomenon at Christmas time. It would like beat out the Cabbage Patch Kid, which I think was the year before.
Do you recall the moment that it did sort of set in that this thing had an impact, had legs?
Yeah, so we were on our way to Universal Amphitheater to do a show in this bus. I don't know why we were in a bus, but we were driving up and the parking lot was so packed and so full, and they let us know as we're getting off the bus that we now have to do 4 shows because too many people showed up. And so we had to wear our helmets, and we had practiced this show where we jump off of like the stage and do flips and then run around, and we have to pull our helmet off up at the top of the stage and then do a flip off. And I remember just getting up there and pulling off my helmet, and it was like we were like little rock stars or something. It was like an amphitheater filled with people and children, and they were like, "Wow!" And it was the scariest moment of my entire life. I wasn't expecting that. I went home, I had nightmares. I did, I had nightmares that it was nuclear war. And it frightened the hell out of me. It was really scary.
How long did it take before that sort of settled down? That
Hasn't.
No? All right.
No, it took years. It took a lot. I realized then, right at the beginning of my career, that I don't really necessarily want to be famous or like being famous. But I've always just wanted to be an actress at that time. So I continued to pursue my career as an actress, but almost like digging in my heels at the same time, just going, okay, just like a little bit at a time. And this is why, jumping behind the camera and now writing and directing, I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I just start off doing that in the first place?
We have a question from another young person. Hi there.
Hi. How did you learn the moves?
Oh, good question. How did you learn your moves?
Oh, I was a gymnast for about 10 years before I had to quit when I was, what time? When? I started when I was 7. I remember my mom said you can start gymnastics when you're 7, and I remember for some odd reason I was sitting on the toilet at 7, realizing I was 7 and going, oh, I can do gymnastics! And then I started gymnastics, and I did that for 10 years, but then I hurt my elbow, so I kind of had to stop. But anyway, I was a gymnast. So then when I got to Los Angeles, I had this audition for this crazy show called Dino Rangers, and then the gymnastics came in quite handy.
Good question. Thank you so much.
And then we faked it, besides Jason David Frank. We all faked it. We're not really martial artists.
Hey there.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for being here. Big fan of yours and the show Felicity. I'm over here. Hi. Felicity was when I was in college.
Oh,
Very
sweet.
fitting.
See, I did Felicity too, guys.
And I'm glad you guys are going to reunite. Can't believe it's been 20 years, but that you're going to reunite.
Oh yeah, in
Come on.
Texas.
That's
oh,
right.
We're in Texas, in Austin.
Right.
Yeah.
I know when you were filming it, it was a really difficult time in your life, and that impacted your experience on it. But was
My mother passed away. I got the pilot, and my mom passed away of cancer 5 months after I got the pilot. So it was the most exciting time in my life and the saddest time in my life. It was a very confusing time, for sure.
Despite that, do you have any fond memories that you can share, and they can include when they had a pink Power Ranger on set?
Oh yeah, that was at like a Halloween party or
Right.
something, right? I was a cat, right? And then there were, I loved doing that show. In hindsight, I'm incredibly proud of that show. J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves, they were the creators of it. And it was a really amazing experience. And they had all these amazing directors that would come in, and they were all film directors. And they would make each episode really be like its own little movie. It was quite special. I loved every moment of it.
Thank you.
Even though it was a hard emotional time for me at the same time.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello.
Hey, what's going on? Wow, that's loud. Hey, hi, Amy.
Hi.
It's my birthday today. Coincidence you're in town. I think it'd be awesome for you to wish me a happy birthday.
Happy
today.
birthday.
Jonathan.
Happy birthday, Jonathan.
And I'm gonna squeeze another question in there. My wife's name's Tammy.
Oh, well, she's not dying. So we're
Okay,
okay.
good. Thank you.
That was very smooth. That. Hi.
Hi. Now that you're writing and directing, do you think that you'll start your own production company, kind of like Reese Witherspoon did?
You know, right now I'm just really focused on writing something again that I am in love with and just working on directing and honing my storytelling. And I do like producing aspects of it, but I also love having a producer that does all the Excel. I don't like Excel. I don't like budgets. I don't like that stuff at all. So, yeah, I mean, who knows what the future may bring. Right now, I'm just focused on the craft and learning and creating stuff.
Awesome.
So with the space between, you also had an Indiegogo campaign, correct?
Yeah.
Which did really well.
Yeah, we did.
So
Those are hard, man. Let me tell you, if anybody in here is mad at me because of that campaign, I'm so sorry. I still have 11 songs to write. That was probably the wrong perk to put out there. Write a song for you, and I'm like, oh shit, or crap. I have 11 songs to write now, so I'm gonna make an album called The Letters, and at some point in my life.
But the thing with that is, like, on the creative side, like, when you're doing that, it's obviously a necessary part of filmmaking, but it also kind of pulls you away from the fact that you have to craft the story, cast the actors.
Oh, when we did the Indiegogo? Yeah, because we did the Indiegogo and then we shot like 8 months after it. It is a full-time job doing the Indiegogo. And it's amazing because you get people so excited and involved. Like the Space Between has this small but really, really loyal and amazing crew of people and supporters that were part of the campaign that creates a life for a little indie film that might have never had a life otherwise. So that's one good thing I find about crowdfunding, is that it does give these little movies an audience and people who love it even before they see it, which is kind of cool.
Let's take another.
Will's one of them.
Will's one of them. Let's take another one over here. It's our cheering man from the front row.
Hi, I actually asked.
Oh, you have such a calm, soft voice.
Thank you. I
Who
appreciate
knew?
that. I actually asked this question with Johnny Young Bosch when I first met him 2 years ago, and I'm going to ask you.
Have a question for Johnny Young Bosch?
Yeah, it was the same question that I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
How did Power Rangers affect your career? And after you left, what's the effect on where you are right now?
Wow. Well, I have to tell you that where I am right now, the people who did support me through those Indiegogo campaigns, through my entire career, from Power Rangers to Felicity and the other things that I did, they came from people who were supported me while I was a Power Ranger. So I find people who watched Power Rangers. I have two. My brain is going over here because I have another answer to that as well. To be very loyal, and that's been amazing. But at the same time, a lot of you guys are from 28 to 34, and at the time when the show was happening, you were just little kids, right? So you didn't really follow my entire career. But now you're adults, and there's so many cool aspects to that. And then it's just really all of a sudden, because only in the last 5 years has all of a sudden I feel like there's this resurgence, or I've just started to open myself up to it. I'm not sure which came first, but I think it's just because you guys grew up and now you're adults and have real jobs and living in this world, right? And it's fascinating and it's great. And I didn't realize how much it impacted so many of you until doing these Comic-Cons and actually talking to people and hearing their stories and realizing that, oh my God, even though I had no idea 25 years ago that I, on this show in my head, wearing pink spandex and feeling like a nut, was gonna help so many people, which is really cool. It's like this cool karma that I didn't even like try to be a part of. It's just there. It's like a blessing.
Awesome.
Is that a long-winded answer?
That's cool. Cool, thank you. Hi.
Hi, Amy. I want to know, what was your thoughts on a new Power Rangers reboot?
What were your thoughts on the new Power Rangers?
Oh, I loved it. You know, it wasn't for kids, especially with that first joke with the bull and everything. I'm like, what are we watching? What is this movie? But I really enjoyed it. I thought Dean Israelite did a really good job, the director. I thought it felt very grounded. It was a completely different movie than you guys grew up with, but it was good. Did you like it?
Loved it.
Yeah, it was
I
really
thought you
good.
should have been reading it all.
I would have loved that. That would have been fun. Oh well.
Thank you. Hi there.
Hi, Amy. I'm a huge fan of yours from Felicity. And so I'm just wondering, how do you think social media will have affected Felicity back then if it had been big, just like it is now?
Wait, how will social media affect
Felicity.
In what sense?
Like if
It's
social
the
media had
hair-
existed back then?
Yeah, if the hair, remember the haircut for Felicity?
Right, because then, wait, was this like 2001, 2002? Yeah, we weren't on social media, were we?
No.
I don't know. I'm kind of like, this social media stuff it's nuts. Don't you think? It's tiring.
It is.
It's exhausting. And like once in a while I'll go in there and I'll put a little story up and then I'm exhausted after and I'm like, okay. And then you go on there and you see these people and they're so good at it. Like Reese Witherspoon and God, who am I watching? I'm obsessed with watching like Angela Kinsey from The Office. I used to be friends with her, so I like to watch her. She's on there every day. It's fascinating, but she's very real and not, I don't know. Do you guys like it? It's exhausting, isn't it? It has its ups and downs. It has its asset. Like if I'm promoting something or like work-wise, I can understand it sometimes. But when it's like what you had for breakfast and like, it's a lot. And then who am I even talking to? And then half the time, like, it's a big mind F. Isn't it?
Yes.
It's a little bit of a mind F.
Thank you.
I don't know. So how would it have affected Felicity? So here's the thing. When I'm writing right now, when I'm like writing, okay, I want to write about this, I always tend to jump back 10 years and write because it was a simpler time. And I don't have to add in people sucked away and distracted in your phone. Like we're not present anymore, right? We're over here and over there and over there. We're not actually in the moment. So I don't want to write about that. That's boring to me.
As a writer, the way we even communicate has changed. I mean, like, not just the fact that we're sucked into our phones, but the things we say to each other have literally changed in the language has changed. So you have to like channel that when you're writing, or not.
Yeah, or not. Or I like to do, like the space between is set in present day, but you'd never know it except for one person, the character I play, her iPhone. Other than that, nobody has a phone, nobody talks about social media and stuff. It's just kind of easier that way. At some point I have to jump on board and be present in the times of not being present.
Will.
All right, I've got one really awesome question for you.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Johnny Young Bosch's band I Shine?
I am. I haven't heard them. I've seen pictures on the internet, and they're quite good, though, I hear.
That's right. And they had their last concert together in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee in December. And
Did you go?
I did, but they made it extremely memorable You want to know how they did that?
I don't know. Is it embarrassing?
Oh yeah, where are we going here?
I sang the Power Rangers theme song with them.
Oh, that's awesome, Will. Do it.
You want to do it now?
Sure.
Okay.
You've got the microphone, so why not?
All right, no problem.
Guitar?
Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Mighty and Morphin Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers!
All right.
Yeah!
Thank you.
Awesome, Will. That was great.
Well done.
Got it down.
Yeah. It's a longer song than I remember.
I think we even cut him off.
But you need to lay down some tracks on that. That's good. Thank you. And that's cool that you got to sing it on stage. That's pretty awesome. Hi.
Hey, first off, I'd like to say I love you, Amy, and you're forever my favorite Pink Power Ranger. What was your preparation for the role for Pink Power Ranger?
What was my preparation?
Yeah, and as for Kimberly
my.
too.
For 25 years ago?
Yeah, for the show.
For the show. Oh, okay. Well, I think, like I said before, the fact that I was a gymnast was incredibly helpful in me getting the part. And then in my head, I always thought they casted wrong. Because I was like, I pictured her blonde, and this girl, I had this friend named Sunshine or Sunny back then, and I always thought that they should have cast her. But they cast me. So I had in my head a whole different Kimberly because it wasn't me. It's not helpful at all.
I think
See,
they got it right.
This is the insecurities. These are the voices in my head that would haunt me. You're the wrong Kimberly. Huh? And then Catherine came. So there you go. So, and she's. Then they got it right the second time.
And unfortunately, this is going to be our final question. No pressure. I'm sure it's going to be great, though.
Hey, Amy. I love Space Between and.
Oh, please. Oh, thank